Hello, friends. When we think of Renaissance art, we often picture the grand frescoes of Michelangelo or the perfect proportions of Leonardo da Vinci's masterpieces. But while Italy was leading a revolution in art, something equally fascinating was happening further north. The Renaissance was not just an Italian affair, it spread across Europe. And nowhere was this more evident than in the works of the Northern Renaissance artists, particularly Jan van Eyck and Albrecht Dürer. These two masters transformed art in ways that were different from their Italian counterparts, yet just as extraordinary. The Northern Renaissance had its own unique character. Unlike in Italy, where artists focused on classical themes and human anatomy, Northern artists were obsessed with detail, texture, and realism. They captured the world with astonishing precision, making their paintings feel alive. And leading this movement was Jan van Eyck, a man who could turn a simple scene into something breathtaking. Van Eyck was a Flemish painter who lived in the early 15th century. He is often credited with perfecting the technique of oil painting. Now, you might be thinking, weren't artists already using oil paints? Yes, but Van Eyck took it to another level. He mastered layering thin glazes of paint, creating colors that glowed with depth and realism. His ability to capture light, reflections, and even the tiniest details made his paintings feel almost three-dimensional. Take his masterpiece, the Arnolfini portrait. At first glance, it looks like a simple painting of a wealthy couple in their home. But look closer. There's a mirror in the background, reflecting the entire scene. The textures of the fur, the delicate folds of the dress, even the beads of light on the chandelier, it's all captured with stunning precision. Every object in the room has meaning, from the tiny dog symbolizing loyalty to the oranges representing wealth. This wasn't just a painting, it was a story frozen in time. Van Eyck's influence spread across Northern Europe, inspiring artists to explore realism like never before. But the Renaissance wasn't just about perfecting technique, it was also about expanding ideas. And that's where our next artist, Albrecht Dürer, comes in. Dürer was a German artist from Nuremberg, and if there was ever a Renaissance man of the North, it was him. He was not just a painter, but also a master engraver, printmaker, mathematician, and writer. He was fascinated by everything: science, nature, perspective, and human proportions. Unlike Van Eyck, who focused on painting, Dürer's genius lay in his ability to combine the Northern love for detail with the Italian fascination for form and perspective. One of his most famous works, Self-Portrait at 28, is striking for one particular reason. He painted himself to look almost Christ-like. With his long, flowing hair and direct gaze, Dürer wasn't just showing off his painting skills. He was making a statement. The Renaissance was about elevating the individual, about celebrating human potential. Dürer saw artists as intellectuals, not just craftsmen, and this painting declared, "I am not just a painter, I am a thinker, a creator, a man of knowledge." But perhaps Dürer's greatest contribution was his engravings. Before photography, before mass-produced images, engravings were how art spread across Europe. His prints, like Melancholia E and Night, Death, and the Devil, weren't just beautiful. They were filled with complex symbolism and deep philosophical themes. His work reached people far beyond Germany, influencing artists, scholars, and even reformers like Martin Luther. Dürer also did something bold. He traveled to Italy and brought back Renaissance ideas, blending them with Northern techniques. The result? A fusion of two worlds. His painting Adam and Eve, for example, shows the perfect proportions inspired by Italian artists, but with the meticulous detail of Northern art. It was the best of both worlds, and it changed art forever. The Northern Renaissance was not just about beauty, it was about ideas. Van Eyck showed the world that art could capture reality in breathtaking detail. Dürer proved that an artist could be more than just a painter. He could be a philosopher, a scientist, a visionary. Their work laid the foundation for the spread of Renaissance thought beyond Italy, inspiring generations to come. And speaking of ideas, the Renaissance wasn't just a revolution in art, it was a revolution in thought. While artists like Van Eyck and Dürer were transforming the visual world, scholars were reshaping the world of knowledge and religion. One such thinker was Erasmus, a man who believed that education and wisdom could make the world a better place. In our next episode, we'll step into the world of Erasmus and the Christian humanists. thinkers who dared to challenge old ideas and reimagine faith in the light of reason. Stay tuned, friends. The Renaissance is about to get even more fascinating.